I'm going to talk a little bit more about narration and narration styles. So, narrative work is something that I like to do when there's a need to reorient someone or teach them that skill of self orientation. I always call it weebles wobbles, but they don't fall down. Like, you know, those things that are weighted at the bottom and that they go like this or like this or like this. It doesn't matter what you do, they come back to center. They come back to the way that they're designed to be. And in this case, it's upright. But let's just say that the person I'm working with doesn't want to be upright. Their whole family's upright, and everybody has a bunch of standards and the way they're supposed to go and the way things are supposed to. There's too much rules, too much structure. They're not having it. So what do they want to be? An individual. They want to grow. They want to burst out. They want the colors and the fans and the things and the okie dokie, whatever you want to call it. And for this person, what they're really fighting for is individuality or an ability to be different. They don't want to risk being sucked into the normal or the regularcy, whatever you want to call it. So the way they tell their story is purposefully different than the story that they were exposed to or that they're used to or that they've heard already. That's important because for that person, they want a different story. They want an explosive, loud, different story because that makes them feel powerful. On the other end, if someone comes from a family of success, one person's an acrobat, one person's a millionaire, one person's a movie star, these are high reaching things. I do not work with people who are like this, so I don't know where this is coming from. But another person's a scholar, one person's a teacher. This is a more common example. Everybody has degrees in my family but me. So they come from this level of success. And the story is about how, not that they need to be an individual, but that how they need to be exactly like their family in order to fit in or get their inclusion or whatever it is, right? The author of that story is going to have to be someone who's conformed, who rose to a challenge and met the challenge, who figured out the recipe, who has the, what is that called? Oh my God. Who has the blueprint, right? All those things that the first person would not like. I don't want a blueprint. I will break a blueprint in half, kick it in the neck, and keep it pushing. Okay, that's the first person. The second person is like, I need that blueprint. That is what gets me favor in my house. That's what gets me listened to and accepted. Da, da, da. So, narrative work is important in helping someone heal. How you apply it depends on where they need to heal or how. Okay, so narrative work can also be something that we do unconsciously or consciously. So the unconscious dynamic of narrative work would be, I'm sitting here and I'm tired because I just keep making videos, da, 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 da. And even though I'm not focusing on it, there's thoughts going through the background of my mind. One of them is, my eyes are so heavy, I'm so tired, if I could just take a nap. I'm either paying that attention or I'm not. And if I'm not paying that any attention, then I won't realize as it starts to become my experience. Why? Because the feeling is there, the thought is there, whether you acknowledge it or not. And like I always say, if you don't acknowledge it, it will acknowledge you. How long do you think I could go making videos before I take a nap? I need it to go to sleep or rest or whatever it is, right? Not that long because I'm human. In the grand scheme of things, not that long. It is inevitable that I'm going to need to rest, just like we all are supposed to be sleeping every night, right? So at least by tonight, what I'm trying to say is that narrative is going by in my mind, whether I'm aware of that process or not. So that's unconscious. But a conscious narrative would be, excuse me, something more like the stream of thoughts that I'm having that I'm plucking out of my mind and putting into reality as a verbalization, right? So the way an idea will pop up and I go, oh, that's a good idea. Let me say that. You have to form the words to think about. That is a conscious narrative. I know that I'm doing that. I know that I'm doing that. And you know that I'm doing it too now. But we do that in different ways too. When you pick up a phone and you rehearse what you're going to say before you leave your message, maybe that's just me. When you pick up a phone and you already know what you're going to say to the person that pick up, That's probably common. Um, those are conscious narratives, and depending upon if that's a healthy narrative or unhealthy narrative is dependent upon how you feel about that, and whether you get a comfortable or uncomfortable feeling, whether you get a opportunity to practice emotional processing or an opportunity to practice self-care. So how can I use that same example for a phone call? Oh, you can be rehearsing what you know you're going to say, which is a conscious narrative, right? Because you can be doing that because you don't want to talk to the person that's about to pick up. So you want to make sure that you say what you need to say and get off the phone. Or you want to say what they need to hear so they'll let you, whatever it is, right? You don't want to talk to that person or you do want to talk to that person. And so your conscious narrative is an exciting and fun thing because you cannot wait to tell your friend about the movie that you knew the guy was going to say that. And I said it and then right? And you get to, kiki and talk to your friend or whatever. So when I do narrative work for someone who's like, let's say, dealing with trauma, that's an unhealthy thing that they didn't want to happen. So if I help them change the narrative, I can help them change the experience of it in today in real time. So like maybe when you were young, you fell off a dirt bike and that was very traumatic for you, or just a regular bike, because that was very traumatic to you. And you're like, I hurt myself. I thought I excuse me, girl. I gotta listen to my narrative and take a nap. I thought I was gonna hurt someone else because I crashed into his bike too. Whatever it is, right? And you have this narrative that hurts to play back. It hurts to remember it. And I'm being real easy because trauma can be so tough sometimes. So let me just keep it chill. But yeah. So now all of a sudden, now because I had a negative experience with a bike one time at 14, at 15. Do you think I want a bike for my birthday? No. At 19, when I get asked on a date to go bike riding, do you think I'm going to say yes to that? What? I'm not going to have a healthy experience. It's not going to be a comfortable experience if I do go, right? Sometimes the reward outweighs the uncomfortability, and sometimes we take a chance on stuff like love or whatever. But if it's trauma, yeah, let me focus. If it's trauma and I fell off a bike and because of it we had to put my dog down, that's traumatic. That's traumatic. I wasn't expecting for that to happen. That sucks. And so now, whether I know it or not, there's a narrative that's been played back, and that affects my development, that affects my personality, that affects if I get a dog again, what I think of pets, what I think of safety procedures and helmets, what I think of parents who don't watch their kids closely enough, what I think that affects all of who I'm going to be in the future based on what happened to me in the past. So a good therapist will help you change, if you feel comfortable, will help you change your narrative so that way you don't have to be that person that the trauma made you. You can be who you want to be by writing the story again in a way that makes sense for you, right? Yes, that happened and we can't take it away. Yes, you might have harmed yourself or someone else on accident. Maybe that was traumatic for sure. Maybe you witnessed something that was traumatic. Okay, however the story goes in your mind, at that part that seems painful or at that part that's too difficult to be able to put words to, that is when it starts to become unconscious. And it is the unconscious processes. It is the unconscious processes that are contributing to the perpetuation of the traumatic expression. But I know my trauma. My house burned down and my whole family, and I was so sad and scared, and I know exactly what was traumatizing. What you don't know is how it did. What you don't know is how it affected you, but you didn't know that. Oh, I never realized that it was because the clock ticking was the only thing I could hear in my state of hypervigilance, and it was that clock ticking that makes it so that I really hate analog clocks. I never understood why. The trauma didn't go nowhere. The thought patterns didn't go nowhere. They either above or below the surface. Oh, I did that backwards. Girl, I need a nap. They either above or below the surface. And regardless of how that goes, like, if it's affecting you, it's affecting you because it's affecting you because it's trauma and it's affecting you. So, like, maybe process that out with somebody safe so that you can understand. Because another thing that's hard to do is bounce ideas off of yourself. It's hard to be your own self-reference and heal from that. Like, you can do your best at it, something like what I do, kind of, but that's me just trying to help, like, conceptualize ways that I can address things with my clients. That's not necessarily me like, let me just fix myself this way. Like, I think it's important to have a safe space to be able to put those things down. Now, I am also a fan of having a safe space within yourself in case your family unit isn't safe, or in case you don't have friends that you can trust, or in case you're introvert, whatever the case is. um, Having a safe space within yourself helps too. But even in doing that, this is going to get kind of whatever, but even in doing that, it's you of right now, present time, addressing age of whatever you were emotionally when that wound happened, when the trauma happened. And so there's still kind of a dynamic in that, because we are acknowledging that there's a difference in how you show up today, how you would take care of yourself today, and how you were able to take care of yourself when the trauma happened. I don't care if the trauma was last year and you were 21 and 22. Okay. 21-year-old you is by definition not who you are right now, because it's past you. And if past you knew what you know, hello, know, if past you knew what now you knows, they wouldn't be the same thing. And there would have been no need for you to go through what you went through in the past. So give yourself a little bit more credit and talk to them kindly. Speak to them kindly, because that narrative is really important to you getting where you need to go. Because guess what we don't know is what future you is screaming at you to do right now. Right? There's a future me that's like, take a nap. But I can't hear her. I'm not in the future. Right? I can think about what's important. I can think about what narrative I should be doing. But if I'm doing my trauma work, I'm looking back on something. And so I'm integrating, you can't even see me, I'm integrating something into a positive experience now. So that way, if I'm going to continue to walk with this thing that I didn't want to happen happening to me, it's going to be a positive experience. It's going to be something I can stomach. It's going to be something that doesn't trigger me into dysfunction as I'm living my life. I'm at Walmart doing what I got to do, and all of a sudden I hear the tick tock of somebody's watch goes off, and it makes me remember, and then I drop my stuff. And not if you change the narrative. And narrative work is not the only way to help with trauma, but that's where I started talking about this. So yeah, just wanted to give a little insight. Okay, bye.